This podcast is sponsored by the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is a catalyst for growth and prosperity and is here to protect and promote business, inspire innovation, cultivate communities, and influence action. Learn more at fmwfchamber.com.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Inform Business Beat podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Avanella. We have a lot to catch you up on this week, so let's get right to it. A new Coda Bank location will be coming to Fargo in the future. The independently owned community bank plans to open its new Fargo branch at the intersection of 42nd Avenue South and 32nd Street South. Coda Bank has roughly $400 million in assets and is headquartered in Drayton, North Dakota. In addition to the Drayton headquarters, Coda Bank has locations in Cavalier, Minto, Walhalla, Netchie, Pembina, Hamilton, and Grand Forks in North Dakota. Additionally, locations in Minnesota include Kennedy, Stephen, and Bemidji. The company's region president, John Holland, said the new Fargo location aims to take advantage of opportunities here in the metro area. Everest Tikka House inside the Moorhead Center Mall will soon be closing. The restaurant, which had offered Indian and Nepali cuisine, will shut down at the end of September, a note taped to the doors of the mall said. While ownership did not speak to the forum about the closing, it was inevitable due to the redevelopment plans for the site. Demolition for that work is expected to begin in 2023. Roughly 2 months after a change to state laws, THC edible sales are flying high in Moorhead. Cody Townsend, regional manager for Northland Vapor, said that sales have been steadily pouring in since the law changed. The new law limits businesses to selling THC products containing a maximum of 5 milligrams of THC. Matt Eady, who manages the Your CBD store, said his shop has begun carrying indica and sativa gummies since the law changed. Both Eady and Townsend agreed that the new legislation is a positive step for both consumers and the cannabis industry in Minnesota. A new Liberian restaurant has taken the place of the former Cajun Cafe in Fargo. So Foods opened at the location Saturday, September 3rd. Owner Patricia So, a Liberia native herself, said the menu will feature Liberian dry rice and fried tilapia, meat pies, jollof rice, potato greens, and more. Patricia told the forum that opening So Foods has been a dream come true. She advised customers to arrive hungry. Hours for the business are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. It'll be closed on Sundays. Fargo's planning department has denied a change of use permit which would have enabled the Romantics adult store to move onto Broadway. While that permit was denied, the city did give the green light to a permit for electrical work at the site, which is across from Halberstad's and Royal Jewelers and diagonal from the Hotel Donaldson. What that means for the future of the location is unclear. City commissioners met Wednesday, August 31st to discuss the possibility that Romantics will bring litigation against the city. Though the meeting was closed to the public, Mayor Tim Mahoney said afterwards there were no actions to record. The La Fiesta Mexican and American Grill has closed, but its owner is planning to open a different restaurant elsewhere in South Fargo. La Fiesta had previously been located near the West Acres Mall and Marcus Century Cinema. While that restaurant has closed, owner Sergio Aguirre will soon be opening a Casa Mexico where the Moe's Southwest Grill once stood along 32nd Avenue South. The first Casa Mexico opened along 13th Avenue South in 2019. Aguirre hopes to have the new location open as soon as possible. For our next segment, we'll have a little bit of a role reversal here for you. I will be handing over hosting duties to my fellow reporter, Tammy Swift. Tammy and I will be discussing my most recent story on the home construction market here in the metro area.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Kuhl, host of the Northland Outdoors podcast. Hey, here in the Northland, we love our time outside. And on the Northland Outdoors podcast, we're going to talk about all of it. Not just fishing, not just hunting, but mountain biking, camping, rock climbing, bird watching, you name it. We're going to have it on the Northland Outdoors podcast. New episodes every 2 weeks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So look for it and join us on the Northland Outdoors podcast.
Building a house in the Fargo-Moorhead area has become considerably more expensive since the COVID-19 pandemic began. To evaluate the market, forum reporter Thomas Avanella spoke to a pair of local home builders on the topic. We'll chat with Thomas to look at what caused this, how much prices have changed, and if prices will take a positive turn soon. Thomas, thanks for being here today.
Sure thing, Tammy. It feels a little interesting to be on this side of it, but it's a welcome change, I would say.
It sure does. But I look forward to hearing what you have to say on this topic. For the sake of background, what has been causing home construction prices to increase so dramatically?
Well, Tammy, it would just be so easy for me here to just say that it's been COVID, and that's true, but that's true for a lot of other things that are going on right now. The real answer is a lot more complex than that. Really, to begin, the price of the commodities that go into building a home have spiked dramatically across the board since the beginning of 2020. Lumber is one thing that gets looked at a lot. For example, the random length lumber prices were around $400 before the pandemic started. That dropped off right away at the beginning of the pandemic, but since then it's gone up ever since. David Reed, president of the local home builders association and of Radiant Homes, said that prices were pretty volatile throughout 2020 and 2021, and they peaked around $1,700. So, doing the quick math here, that's more than a 4 times increase in those prices. 2021 was also particularly difficult for lumber just because of, on top of the price increases, people were dealing with a tumultuous tariff situation with Canada. That's where a lot of the lumber comes from. On top of that, there were also forest fires for domestic lumber stock in Oregon and California. The lumber situation has improved. Fortunately, prices are back near pre-pandemic levels at around $500 or so. So that's the positive here. But the damage had already been done to the market. The National Association of Home Builders reported recently that the volatile lumber prices from 2020 to today added $14,000 to the average construction price of a single family home in the US. And lumber is just one commodity here. There are a whole lot of other things that go into building a home. And David Reed said that his company has seen price increases for just about everything else, including PVC, steel, concrete, nickel, copper, you name it. The price of all of those materials has gone up. And overall, it's really just been an incredibly challenging set of circumstances for home builders and the buyers that they're building the homes for to navigate.
Understandably. Yeah, that number, 14,000, that's alarming. Wow.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, that's 5 figures that's getting added on to the price of a house. That's a substantial difference for a lot of people. I don't know how many people that prices out, but there are probably a lot of people that see that and it gives them pause big time.
definitely. So, what has that all meant for our local market?
Well, the good news here is that the FM area does tend to be a little isolated from these broad scale national economic issues. But make no mistake about it, the cost of building a home here has gone up in recent years. Interestingly, though, this hasn't really stopped people from wanting to build houses in the area. And part of these big increases can be attributed to big increases in the number of houses that are being built. For example, in Fargo, more homes were built in 2021 and 2019 than in 2020 and our last normal year, which was 2019. The same is true in Horace. In 2020, Horace built 22 new homes. That number was 122 last year and 127 this year. So, and again, this year's figure is only through May. So, really, there are a lot of new homes being built, but you add on top of that the fact that all of the pieces to build these new homes have become more expensive, and it's created this massive leap in the home construction cost in the area. And overall, though, the local market does seem to still be attractive, and people are still willing to take the leap to build a home. And that's an assertion that both David Reed and Tyrone Leslie of Heritage Homes backed when I spoke to both of them for this story. The market is still attractive for a broad range of reasons, but topping the list is just the stability. Like I said, Fargo tends to be isolated a little bit from these national issues. Maybe not so much here. It is still a factor here, but on a lot of other topics, Fargo is very stable, and that's been part of the reason that people are still willing to build.
Huh, interesting. So, when might this improve?
That's really hard to say, and I didn't get a really conclusive answer to this when I interviewed people for the story. David Reed told me he thinks that consumers might need to brace themselves a little bit. These prices may be something to get used to for a little while. They're probably not going to go down as quickly as they went up. In fact, they might even plateau where they currently are, which is obviously problematic for a lot of people who are considering building a home for themselves. Of course, another factor here is interest rates. The federal government is doing a lot with interest rates to try to slow down the demand for new homes and demand for a lot of other things, really. Interest rates is something we could get into entirely on another podcast, but that's just another factor here. Historically, the interest rates are low, but they are going up a little bit. Like I said, that's probably a discussion for another day. But again, people are still making the decision to build homes and ride out these rocky market conditions. And I think people are really going to need thick skin if they want to make that leap. So all in all, it's really difficult to put a timeline on when this might go back to normal, because we might have to get used to this for a little while. It's maybe going to hover around where it currently is before dropping, or people are just going to have to embrace this.
Right. So what advice did you pick up for home buyers right now?
Well, obviously, it's really tumultuous. It's tough sledding right now, but there are a few things that David Reed told me that a lot of people should be doing. Obviously, the first thing to do is to talk to your financial advisor and your lender for your home. Buying a house is easily the biggest investment that pretty much everyone who's not Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is going to make in their life. So it's a deeply personal decision, and you need to make sure that it's the right decision for you right now. If things don't make sense, if that additional $14,000 scares you off and you want to wait it out, then you should probably listen to that feeling and wait it out and discuss it with your financial advisor. The next thing to do, obviously, is to continue watching the market and do your own research. A lot of people are deciding to just plug along and keep building, but maybe it's not the right time for you right now. Maybe these price increases are a little too much to handle. And like I said before, it's an extremely personal decision. It's a massive investment. So it's worth monitoring for people who are considering building homes to continue watching the market and see if things improve. Maybe you want to wait another year or two and just, wait it out. Or maybe you'd say, hey, I want this house and I want it built now, so let's do it. And one of the last things that people can do that David Reed suggested was to watch for various financing options. One of those would be adjustable rate mortgages. That's going to allow you to stay on top of interest rates. If interest rates do go down, your mortgage rate can go down with that. There are also tax incentives available in our area. Cass County offers a 2-year property tax abatement that's really going to decrease your property tax bill for the first 2 years on your new construction. So all of those sort of things can factor into the financing side of things for your home. So all in all, the biggest takeaway is that this is a very personal decision. The factors vary by each individual, and you just need to make the decision that's right for you, whether that's building now or whether that's waiting it out a couple more years.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know what some of the builders of starter homes or people who want to build starter homes are thinking, being as they have a tighter budget, and it'll be interesting to know at some point if fewer of those people will be opting to build right now and maybe waiting for a time when the prices are a little lower.
Right, absolutely. And you hit on something really important there. I mean, the price of these starter homes, if it's around $200,000 to build a starter home and it's now $300,000, or if it's only $214,000, like that $14,000 increase we've been talking about, that's a big change in the price of the home that you expected. And you're getting the same house and you're getting it now for more. So really, if I were in that position, and this should not be taken as advice for anyone from me, I'm not an expert on the topic, but if I were in that position, I would definitely be inclined to wait it out. I mean, the conditions right now are so unstable and so rocky. Any adjective for unstable you can come up with could be used to describe the home building market right now. So, who's to say you decide to build a home and then 6 months later you get the bill and it's way more than you expected. So maybe now is not the right time for a starter home. It's so hard to say. There are so many factors at play here.
Absolutely. Well, this has been really educational, Thomas. Thank you for all the work you've done on that story.
Absolutely.
So once again, that has been Forum reporter Thomas Avanella discussing all things home building and buying. Thomas, once again, thank you for joining us.
Sure thing, Tammy. Like I said before, when we started this, it's kind of fun to get on the other side of things. Maybe we'll get a chance to do it again sometime soon.
I hope so. Let's switch it up once in a while. Thanks.
Absolutely. That wraps up this week's episode of the In-Forum Business Beat podcast. This has been your host and interview guest, Thomas Avanella. Check back next week for our newest episode. In the meantime, be sure to visit inforum.com/business for all the latest news.
Inforum is proud to be a part of the Trust Project. To learn more about our ideals and commitment to trustworthy journalism, go to inforum.com/policies and standards.